Hey everyone, Ilda here from I Love Doing All Things Crafty, and welcome back to another process video. In today's video, I'm going to share with you how I created this Get Well Soon Surprise Slider tea card, featuring a few stamps and dies from Honeybee Stamps. So here I'm just trying to figure out how I'm going to create this card, because I get these ideas in my head and I figure I can pull it off somehow, and usually they end up working, but sometimes the idea that I had doesn't work quite so well, so then I have to modify my plans a little bit. So this is one of those cards that you think will work a certain way, but then in the end it has to be altered just to work kind of like what you thought you had planned out. As you can see, this mug has a little tag dangling off the edge of the mug, so I'm just creating a little mask so that I don't have to use that in my finished image. So here I just created a mask to cover up my mug so that I can blend out a little bit of ink on my background just to make it pop up a little bit, since this card won't have a lot of color. Now that my images are all colored in and cut out, it's time to assemble the mechanism for the slider portion of the card. Here I'm using a piercing tool to poke a hole through the top of the T tag, and I'm just using some multimedia matte glue to secure that string in place, and then I'm just going to use tape to cover it to the back of this little acetate strip. The initial thought I had for this card was to have the tea bag pull all the way up out of the teacup and slide back in with the acetate piece. But as I carried on in the creation of the card, I realized that the tea bag would catch on the opening of the tea cup, and that idea wouldn't work. So I had to modify my plans a bit. I'm not sure if you noticed that, but I got a little bit ahead of myself here. Before attaching the stopper to the slider mechanism, I need to create a slit on the top of the teacup so that the tea bag can slide in and out of the cup. As I had mentioned earlier, my initial thought was to have the tea bag pull up all the way out of the cup. But as you can see, if I pull it all the way up out of the cup and then try to push it through the slit, it gets caught on that slit. So this is where I modified my plans a little bit. Now, rather than pulling the entire tea bag out of the cup, it just slides up all the way to where you see most of the tea bag. So here I just created the stopper by attaching two pieces of scrap paper to the bottom of that little acetate piece. This is what will keep the tea bag from popping out of the slit. So here I'm using some foam tape to create a stop point for my sliding mechanism. Once I have my stopping point figured out, I just need to create the channel for the slider to move up and down. So here I'm testing out the sliding mechanism, and I noticed that if I pull up too high, there is potential for that tea bag to get stuck on the entry again. So that's why I added those two foams on the side of the channel, just so that it doesn't allow the tea bag to pull up too high. To make things a little more obvious for the recipient, I'm just going to use a pen and write the word pull on the little tag. To the frame, I'm adding some foam adhesive, leaving a little gap where the pull tab will slide through, large enough for the string to fit through, but not quite large enough for the tab to fall through. Before I adhere this panel onto my card base, I'm going to use an anti-static tool to get rid of any adhesive that may interfere with the sliding mechanism. At this point, I realized that I hadn't stamped my sentiment yet on my front panel. Thankfully, the stamping tool came to the rescue, and as you saw there, I did my first test stamp on some scratch piece of paper, and it went well, and it was in the right position, so I carried on and stamped away onto the front panel of my card. To finish off the card, I'm just adding some yellow sequins for a little more pop of color, and then I'm just going to finish the lemon with some Wink of Stella shimmer. And here's a closer look at this Get Well Soon Surprise Slider tea card. I'm really happy with the results, and I think it turned out really cute. I hope this card has inspired you today to get interactive with your card making. As usual, I will have all the supplies I used in today's video linked in the video description below. And for more inspiration using these products from Honeybee Stamps, I will have a link below to their blog. Thank you all for spending a few minutes of your day watching me create in my craft room. And until next time everyone, happy crafting! Bye!